Okay, what am I going to do? What do I want to play? What am I going to unbox? Too many choices. Oh, hey, how you going? I didn't see you there. Welcome back to another HP Gaming GameLINK video. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things today. Most importantly, everything to do with Kickstarter, because this is our August edition of Got Your Backer. Alright folks, we're going to get straight into it today. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Matt and welcome back to another Gotcha Backer for August 2020. We have got a lot to get through, but I will let you know we have recently shot our 50th video and that has been uploaded to the YouTubes all around the internet, and we're very happy to have been able to bring you all this amazing content. If you are one of our Patreon subscribers, thank you very much. I always love your support, and if you are watching this video in September and wondering why on earth is he talking about August, jump on patreon.com/hpgamingau and you will find out all of the secrets that is going on behind the scenes here at HP Gaming. But we're going to get straight into it. We're going to give you some updates on some projects that we've backed over August 2020. Okay, so one of the first project updates I want to talk about is a game that is very, very close to my heart. Now, this is a game that I've played to death with my 6-year-old. It's probably not thematically appropriate, so we change the words up. I've done a massive review. It was one of the first reviews I ever did on our YouTube channel. And this is an expansion for that game, and it is Arcana Games' Monster Slaughter Underground. Now, it brings a wealth of new content to an already huge game. There's a lot of game in the base box, and this is no exception. So you get not just the extra miniatures that are included in the expansion for the Undertaker group, that is the Monster Slaughter Undertaker group, that's the minis, the UG squad, along with a little turret that will obviously take the fight back to the monsters. But you also get a plethora of new cards, new content, and a rule book that contains a whole new breadth of scenarios for you to play through. Now, initially, the core content for the upgrade, I was a bit unsure. Do I back the expansion? Do I not back the expansion? I wasn't 100% sold on it. But the stretch goals allowed for additional scenarios to be unlocked, new rules, new artwork in the book as well, a whole new breadth of cards, and the addition of some plastic door components. Now, Monster Slaughter had the base of the game box is actually the game board, which is awesome. And it also had little cardboard tokens that you could use for doors. You could smash through them and remove them and all that sort of stuff. They were very flimsy and a few of them have broken. So this upgrade allows for the plastic doors and barricades to be used in place, and it just adds another element of 3D awesomeness to what is already a fantastic gaming experience. Now, Monster Slaughter has been hit like everything else by COVID and has been delayed by a couple of months. It was meant to be, I think, released in May of 2020. We are still expecting it to hit our shores before the end of the year. We'll just see how we go with production now that that is all full steam ahead and the samples are now hitting the main factory out at Arcana Studios. Very excited to see what Monster Slaughter Underground will bring to the table. And when, of course, that comes through, I'll be doing a review of that when it reaches the table. All right, the next game I want to talk about is one that is more for our junior gamers, but I think it's going to be more, some of the senior gamers and family gamers are going to get a lot out of it too. This is a game called Fossilis. Now, this is a game that is, I don't know, a bit of a Jurassic Park Badlands scene where you're digging, and Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler are digging through the sand trying to find dinosaur fossils. And effectively the 3D game board element allows you to dig through some quite heavy placed tiles to try and find dinosaur bones. And if you have the most impressive skeleton at the end of the game, you'll win the most victory points and become the most renowned paleontologist in all the world. And John Hammond will come and ask you to write off and sign off on his park where he's genetically brought DNA dinosaurs back to life. And we all know how that ends. So Fossilis is something quite unique in that it has a game board with a special tray that when you set it up and you flip things over, you actually don't know where the bones have landed. So the person who sets it up doesn't know where everything is, which means all the players have the same sort of starting position, and you're digging through tiles. And as you dig through lower in the board, you need bigger and better tools to dig through. You better watch out because there's things like scorpions from mini expansions and add-ons as well. It's a unique 3D digging tile placement-y sort of game, which has an appeal that's going to stand the test of time with families across the world. And it was a no-brainer to back it because obviously we're all fans of dinosaurs in our household, and having something that I'm going to be able to play with my 6-year-old and then my 2-year-old as she grows up and we'll all be able to sit around the table and play it together, that's going to be amazing. So Fossilis, I think, at this stage, again, everyone's been hit by COVID, so there has been a few delays, but I think they're still on target to get it to us before Christmas, which is very awesome. And I'm sure, we'll be able to share some insight when that hits the table as well. And that's Fossilis. Okay, onto a game now that's a bit more for your die-hard gamer fan. This is not something that's going to appeal to everybody, but it appeals to me because I have a very eclectic taste when it comes to board games. Quite frankly, if it's a game and it's something that can be played by one or more people, I'm down. But this one, Sanctuary: The Keeper's Era, is a card game that has a similar vein and style to Siege Storm, which is a game where two players will go off head to head, facing off against each other, sending your enemies down a track and obviously hoping that they damage your opponent. Sanctuary: The Keeper's Era, though, is slightly different in that you have your own territories that you're trying to defend from your opponent, and obviously the more territories you have in play, the more you'll be able to do. So within the first couple of turns, you're almost at full strength, and then as you get further and further into the battle and your territories are destroyed, you become weaker and weaker until there is just one person left standing. One of the unique things about Sanctuary: The Keeper's Era is that it comes with a multitude of decks, so you can choose from many different heroes, play styles, and characters and use them to fight your opponents to the death. Looking forward to seeing this one. I don't think it's something that I'll be playing with everybody in our home. It's something that's going to be more for me, I guess. But it appeals to me because of the card play, because of the content, because of the customization as well, which I really like. It adds a lot of replayability, and I'm really excited to see how that goes once it's in my hot little hands. Oh, they are that little. I don't want to say little hands, don't want to be trumpy. But yeah, Sanctuary: The Keeper's Era, it's going to be worth looking at. If you haven't or want to know a bit more about the game, click the links below and have a look. It's definitely something that's a bit more out there in terms of the gaming world. Okay folks, onto a game now that we didn't really know much about. Well, I didn't know much about it first, but this is something that has always intrigued me, and when the opportunity came to back it to get an expansion and also an expanded base game edition, the time was right. Also, it was designed by Joey Vigor, who we're very happy with the quality of Growl, so we thought we'd jump on board. This is, of course, Chaosmos, the expanded edition with the Temple expansion. Now, Chaosmos, for those of you who aren't aware, is effectively a keep away game, for lack of a better term. You've got to try and find the ovoid, and once you have a hold of it, squirrel it away or hide it to make sure that you are the person who ends up with it at the end of the game. So there's a bit of social deduction, social deception, but also take that action as well as you try and play cards, attack other players to try and find the ovoid and effectively stop the universe from exploding. Now, the expanded edition allows for more alien races and characters to play as. I think it's a 2 to 6 player game. And then, of course, the Temple expansion adds a whole new plethora of content to go with the base game. Upgraded components, upgraded everything. So, it makes sense to jump on board. I like the idea of having a plethora of options to choose from as player characters when I'm playing this sort of game. I also like that it's a different take on a board game style theme, something that we haven't really seen a lot of. And I think that's awesome too, is that the little mini sculpts that come with all the different alien races are all unique. They're not just carbon copies in different colors, which is awesome as well. Chaosmos at this stage has had a little bit of a delay. Again, everyone has. I've already talked about it a couple of times to do with COVID. But I think it's going to be worth the wait because the expanded edition is going to allow for so much replayability in that as you're moving around, you're hiding things in envelopes and other bits and pieces as well. The idea that, okay, you journey to a new planet and you open up the envelope, not sure what you're going to find. Is it going to be the ovoid that you're looking for? Is it going to be a trap? Is it going to be a vault that you need a key for to open to unlock the secrets? Who knows? I think that allows for lots of replayability. And it's going to be something that's going to be quite unique once we can get out of lockdown and start getting people back to the table, particularly with the larger player count. At this stage, yeah, I think they're still on target to meet the deadline potentially. There's been, as I said, a few delays. But in all accounts, they are still going into production, and also Joey has been busy working on Growl expansions as well in the downtime. So he's not one to rest on his laurels, which is awesome. Chaosmos, the expanded edition, and of course the Temple expansion will be something we will definitely be getting to the table once it arrives here in the merry old land of Oz. So you can look out for that one when we get it in our hot little hands. And lastly on our project updates is something that is designed purely for the solo gamer, of which I am one of the many that enjoy a great solo game. Arkham Horror, Lord of the Rings, Marvel, all the great LCGs that are out there, and also some great solo gameplay. Things like Clank I enjoy playing solo as well. Some deck builders that have a solo element, Harry Potter, the Toy Story game, all that sort of stuff. Love playing solo gaming because sometimes late at night I just want to get my game on and everyone else is asleep. So this is a game that I guess is the 80s homage version of what Unbroken was meant to be, of which we are still yet to see. Naughty, naughty Golden Bell. This is a game called Hunted. Now, Hunted is literally a one-player sort of not asymmetric style game, but it's one versus the many, but without the many actually being at the table. So Hunted presents a couple of different scenarios that have a very much nostalgic 80s vibe, even early 90s vibe, and I'll explain what that's about shortly, where it puts you in a specific role and you will gather cards and resources and generally try and survive the situation that you're thrust into. Two of these scenarios, and there's obviously expansions potentially coming down the line, which is very exciting. Two of these scenarios are throwbacks to great genre films that have stood the test of time. They are references to Die Hard, yay, and Alien, which is another obviously fantastic film where one versus the many. They're obviously not called that for copyright reasons. There's one that it's very much Nakatomi Plaza, and you play someone who is taking on a bunch of terrorists, and you have to gather resources, save hostages, and ultimately survive the day. And that's the same with the mining colony, where you're set upon by a group of alien species who are set to destroy you at any cost. Hunted poses a unique sort of cel-shaded comic book style, which I really like. And the best part about it is they've actually cel-shaded each component for each of the different games in different colors. So the Die Hardy theme is like a blue hue card, and the mining colony is a red planet Mars orangey card. So you know exactly, as soon as you take things out of the box, which scenario or which cards belong with which set. And effectively you get two games in the one box, which is fantastic. Another cool thing about this is that the designer put together a scenario for Christmas, which was Hunted based in Santa's workshop. And that was very, very cool little bonus that we got for last Christmas as well. Who knows what might happen this year for Christmas as well, whether there'll be an expansion onto that as well. Hunted, the full set, comes with playmats and all sorts of other bells and whistles as well. It's a complete play experience for one player. This is a game you could also play pandemic style, where you all sit around the table and discuss what actions to take. I think that would be exciting as well. I know I've done that with things like Hostage Negotiator as well. So I think the idea of a solo game being able to be a group activity, I think, is something that we can explore in future years as well. And we're going to see more of that as a possibility. But Hunted looks like it's going to be a very wonderful solo experience. And while there has been delays with art and things as well, it is still on target to arrive hopefully before the end of 2020. So we're looking forward to seeing how that plays. And I'll make sure that we get some sort of playthroughs done for you when it arrives. And that is all the information we have for project updates. Let's move on to what we freshly backed during August of 2020 and let you know about the new projects that are coming our way. Okay, so the first project that we backed on Kickstarter for August 2020, and as of this recording still has 15 or so days to go, is a unique Euro worker placement game with a magic-y, cosmic-y sort of feel to it called Lizard Wizard. And the appeal of this game is that you play these Lizard Wizard characters and you're trying to employ wizards to help gather resources, cast spells, and ultimately give you victory points to win the game, which is nothing new. It's a similar sort of genre, Euro-style worker placement game. But there's a reason it works, there's a reason it's so popular. The Lizard Wizard game and gameplay and style is something that appeals to me because it's got that family-friendly vibe, but still has quite a serious and strategic gameplay elements that we really love. There's elements of things like Catan where you've got a strategic resource management element, and there's also worker placement. There's a little bit of take that as well with the cards, but it's more about engine building, I guess. And it's not the first game on this list for this month that has a similar mechanic and a similar theme, but we will get to that later. Lizard Wizard, I think, as I said, has about 15 days left as of this recording, so you can jump on board. I would forget the base game pledge. I would just move straight to the deluxe version where you get the metal coins and other bits and pieces as well. Definitely worth a look. I would imagine that their release date, I think, is about April 2021. They should hit that fine. Everything's back open now. So I'll be interested to see how it hits, how the finished product looks versus the prototypes that I've seen on YouTube and everywhere else as well. Lizard Wizard, you should check it out. Check in the links below. It's definitely worth a look. Okay, onto a game that I know very little about, but this particular version, but it's nothing new. It's a reprint, it's a new edition, it's a new everything, but it's not really new because it's the same game. This is, of course, Ultimate Werewolf Deluxe Definitive Edition, whichever you want to call it. It is the ultimate One Night Ultimate Werewolf. So this is the same core werewolf experience with a lot of deluxe components. You can get a base deluxe game and then an ultimate deluxe game, which has a lot more components, things like slap bands to mark when you're dead. If you've ever played werewolf before, it's a social deduction game where there's a moderator who basically makes sure the game runs the way it should, and you're a bunch of villagers trying to decide who amongst you is the werewolf that is killing people off. I believe this version of the game comes with an app that can run as the moderator for you so that everyone can play, which is awesome. And the deluxe components or other add-ons allow you to print off certificates so you can say this person was killed by this werewolf, etc. as a bit of a gimmick, which is kind of fun. The Super Deluxe Ultimate version has the slap bands to mark when you're dead. It also has things like caution tape and caution signs, so you can cordon off the area so that unbeknownst people won't walk in and potentially be devoured by the werewolves within, which I think is awesome. Do I think it's something, I don't know, I've never backed a werewolf game, I've never purchased a werewolf game, so I figured if I was going to go all in, it might as well be the Ultimate Edition. I haven't gone super deluxe. I've kept it simple and gone the base deluxe game, which still has a ton of components, something like 85 characters to choose from, lots of different components, which I love. I've played social deduction games before. Werewolf, everyone seems to swear by. I have played Growl. Growl is great. In fact, you can see one there. But this is something that everyone talks about, and it's the one that everyone keeps going back to. So I'm going to jump on board. We're going to try it out once lockdown's over, and hopefully I'll enjoy it as much as everyone else. But yeah, it piqued my interest, and I figured if there was ever a time to jump on board the Ultimate Werewolf train, it was now, and that's Ultimate Werewolf Definitive Deluxe Edition. Okay, now this is onto a game now that I backed literally in the dying seconds of the campaign. I'd seen advertisements for it, ummed and ahed about it. Is it really for me? I wasn't sure. And then in the last second I went, oh, why not? Go on, do yourself a favor, treat yourself, Matt. Again, treat myself. I treated myself to a lot of games on Kickstarter. Anyway, this game I backed, it's called Intrepid, and it's all to do with the International Space Station. Imagine pandemic, but in a confined space, thousands and thousands of miles above the Earth. That is what Intrepid is all about. You're effectively a group of cosmonauts and astronauts trying to overcome all insurmountable obstacles to fix the space station and prevent it from plummeting back to Earth with you inside. Now, the base game, I believe, comes with four or five different scenarios and a couple of different roles, similar to the Pandemic series, but a lot of actual factual information about different cosmonauts, astronauts, and the space station itself, which is awesome. The fact that it's a bit more of a real game, in fact it's based on fact and truth, is exciting and intriguing for me. And as it is, they keep adding add-on content, i.e. more space explorers, things like that, and more problems for you to solve on the ship. I'm unclear as to whether or not the problem that you're facing or the main issue is known at the start of the game. I'm hoping that you're just moving through the ship and things are going wrong, but you're not quite sure what the main problem is you're going to face until later in the game. I think that'd be quite cool. I don't know if that's the case. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But Intrepid is basically a game where it's going to be a ramped up version of Pandemic, and the tension's going to be high right from the outset, because ultimately if it's your oxygen that's failing and that runs out, that's not going to bode well for yourself or anyone else who's going to be, potentially where the ISS is going to be crashing into the Earth. So you need to fix that. Lots of great art on the cards. The cards, the components, I guess the art style is very much 1950s comic, but not the comic book superhero style. It's more real. Great artwork on the cards, great story on the cards, and it looks like the factual information. I think the real element is quite enticing. That's what appeals to me. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out once it hits the table. At this stage, everything looks like it's running smoothly because they finished the campaign when the manufacturers have reopened. So at this stage, it's still on target, which I'm really excited about too. And look, that's Intrepid, and I look forward to showing you that one when it reaches our shores. Okay, so I mentioned a game that was similar in theme and style to Lizard Wizard that was on this list, and of course here it is. This is called Arcana Rising, or Arcana Rising, and it is a game that is a bit more without the kiddie cartoony character element. This is more based purely on gameplay style and design. So this is where there's a set board, there's a market board, you have your own player components, and obviously you engine build to try and get better spells and better components and better ingredients to get better moon pieces, I think, as well, and ultimately get the most VP points to win the game. This is very much a Euro style engine builder thing, same as Lizard Wizard, but I think with a different unique style. And the base game of this one actually has a lot of the components. There's not a lot of difference between the base game and the Kickstarter version, which I think is going to give it a lot of clout when it gets to retail. Arcana Rising looks like it's going to be very sleek in its design. They're optioning the design choices of the different components to the backers, so the backers get a say in which pieces are designed for which ingredient, etc. And also the token bag, I think, has a design emblem on it that's being voted on by the backers too, which is great to be involved in the creative process in that way. But Arcana Rising, I think it just feels, I don't know, it reminds me of Valley of the Alchemists, which is a game that was backed on Kickstarter that is not coming to retail as far as I'm aware, which is a damn shame because it is a bloody good gaming experience. But Arcana Rising doesn't have the tiled cards that you're all competing for. So you're literally just focusing on your own board and engine to try and build and generate the most points to win the game, which I think is awesome and a great competitive strategic style of gameplay. Arcana Rising components looks great, looks very, very exciting. I don't foresee any massive delays with their production. It's definitely worth a look, and the campaign, as of this recording, has about 8 days left to go. So by all means, jump on board, click the link below. If you've played Valley of the Alchemists and it's something you think you might be interested in, have a look at Lizard Wizard, have a look at Arcana Rising, and make your decision. Do you need both? Maybe, maybe not. If you're not a family person and you just get around with the gaming groups, maybe go for Arcana Rising. I don't know, I think it's something that you'll have to decide for yourselves, but it's definitely worth a look. And the final game I want to talk about for August 2020 is The Night Cage. Now, I saved the best for last, in my opinion. This is an abstract, visceral game that is best played in low light. And why, do you ask, is that the case? Well, it's about players that have been locked inside a cage. Funnily enough, it's called The Night Cage. And you're trapped inside this dungeon where you've got a candle to light your way. Now, the unique thing about this game is it's a tile-laying game, a very adult version of Carcassonne, if you will. And as you lay the tiles out and move along the track, the trails behind you that aren't lit up by your candle disappear. So you're never sure exactly where you are on the board at any one time, which is awesome. So you're in this dark area trying to find your way out, trying to find a key to unlock the door to escape the cage. But of course, you are not alone in the dark. There are all sorts of weird and wonderful things that are trying to track you down, prevent you from leaving, and ultimately doom you to a life trapped inside the cage. There is an expansion, I think, that's going to be with the Kickstarter edition as well, which will allow for more monsters and things to fight or have to deal with, and along with a tile drawing tower as well, which I think is going to be fantastic. Best played with low light, best played with an atmospheric soundtrack, which is being developed by the Kickstarter guys too, which is awesome. The Night Cage is definitely something worth checking out. Very abstract, very out there, which is very much like me. It's almost a bit like Suro, the dragons that fly around, but with a very, very dark theme, which very much appeals to me. The Night Cage, check it out. It's going to be fantastic. Click the links in the description below. All right, and that's all we have for August 2020 for this edition of Got Your Backer. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching and listening to me prattle on about these crazy games that are out there. If you have any questions, by all means, pop them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you when I get a second. Thank you again, as I said before at the outset, to all our Patreon subscribers. You can check out the Patreon tiers at patreon.com/hpgamingau, or hpgamingau, I should say. And if you have any questions, you can always hit us up at orders@hpgaming.com.au as well, and we'll get back to you away from the public eye. Looking forward to having you back with us for our next couple of videos. Click that subscribe button, stay social with us, and we look forward to seeing you back at the table very, very soon. Bye for now.